got two words, eh? Put your paper. You present. Was står die bochtjes?
Wat de deur, ja, ik kan... Na coxa, é. Pegar os bolsos, da cá.
Yeah? Was your big? Was it nice? Take a picture? Please.
Just so.
What's the big bottom thing? Yeah. Oh, they're lab bananas. I thought you said they were ghost lab. Yeah, they are. That one looks like the. Oh, this one's the Lord. Mummy, that one's the soldier. Alaska. There's Ukraine. I think the Lord was. Wait, I bet this is the Beatles. This has to be. Oh, it's not.
But then the other side is the design or general.
of the most famous ferries in the world. Please pay attention to the emergency procedure notices displayed around the vessel. In the unlikely event of an emergency, you will hear 7 short blasts followed by 1 prolonged blast on the whistle. If you hear this signal, please make your way to the life jacket assembly points following the assembly station direction signs displayed. The crew will be on hand to give instructions and advice. Please note that smoking, including the use of e-cigarettes, is not permitted on any part of the vessel. And for your own safety, we also ask you not to stand on the seats or sit on the ship's rails. We ask cyclists to alight after all foot passengers have left the vessel. Please be aware that at low tide, the link-span passenger bridges will be at a steep angle. This time of day is called low water. You may have difficulty if you have reduced mobility, so please ask for help if required, and take care. Photography and filming may take place during this cruise, and may be used for the purpose of promoting Mersey Ferries online, print and on social media.
During the cruise, you will see some of Liverpool and Wirral's most famous landmarks, including the 3 Graces, Wallasey Town Hall, the Mersey Tunnel's ventilation shafts, Camel Laird Shipyard, the Royal Albert Dock, and Liverpool's 2 magnificent cathedrals. We shall be calling at Seacombe Ferry Terminal on the Wirral side of the river. Seacombe is the gateway to New Brighton and offers the opportunity to walk along the coastal promenade to New Brighton, which is about 2.5 miles. Seacombe is also home to Eureka Science and Discovery, a new visitor attraction designed for children and young people up to 14 years.
Terminal on your right is Liverpool's cruise liner berth. Cruise lines, including Cunard, Norwegian Cruise Line, Costa Cruises, Celebrity, Disney, Princess and Viking Cruises, sail into the city year-round.
In all, 7 miles of docks and 23 miles of quays stretch along the Liverpool foreshore. In 1710, the Corporation of Liverpool started work on the world's first commercial wet dock, and by the end of the century, the city boasted a full dock system. Steam had revolutionized shipping, and this, combined with the Industrial Revolution and the opening up of the Americas, secured Liverpool's future as a trading city and a major port.
Has been influenced by a diverse mix of races and nationalities, and this has produced a population characterized by its vitality, resilience, and extreme sense of humor. The city is also home to the oldest black and Chinese communities in Britain. Liverpool had financially prospered from trade with the British West Indies and the American.
As we approach Seacombe, look out for the large bell at the landing stage.
Welcome aboard one of the most famous ferries in the world. Please pay attention to the emergency procedure notices displayed around the vessel. In the unlikely event of an emergency, you will hear 7 short blasts, followed by 1 prolonged blast on the whistle. If you hear this signal, please make your way to the life jacket assembly points following the assembly station direction signs displayed. The crew will be on hand to give instructions and advice. Please note that smoking, including the use of e-cigarettes, is not permitted on any part of the vessel. And for your own safety, we also ask you not to stand on the seats or sit on the ship's rails. We ask cyclists to alight after all foot passengers have left the vessel. Please be aware that at low tide, the latest on passenger bridges will be at a steep angle. This time of day is called the low water. You may have difficulty getting that bridge